Michael Thompson was accused of breaking community rules simply for letting his dog swim, an unfair attack that shocked him to the core. The HOA chair, Linda Price, aggressively called the cops, fueling a wave of anger and mistrust in the neighborhood. But Michael had a secret. He was one of the very people who helped write the county's pet ordinance. And that truth changed everything. Just wait until you hear how this unexpected twist turned the tide and why justice ultimately prevailed in this intense showdown. It was one of those blazing summer afternoons in Arlington, the kind where the heat makes everything slow down, and the only relief is a splash of cool water. Michael Thompson, a devoted dog owner, decided to take his loyal Labrador Buddy to the nearby pond, a quiet spot where dogs and their owners often gathered to escape the sun. Michael smiled as he watched Buddy leap eagerly into the water, paddling happily and wagging his tail like there was no worry in the world. But that peaceful moment didn't last long. Out of nowhere, Michael noticed a sharp voice cutting through the hum of summer cicadas. Turning around, he saw Linda Price, the chair of their HOA board, striding purposefully toward him with a look that barely hid her irritation. "Michael, you know the rules," she said, her tone cold and firm. "You're not allowed to let your dog swim here. I've already called the police." Michael blinked, stunned. "Wait, what? This is a public pond, right? I didn't think there was a problem." Linda's eyes narrowed. "The HOA has strict rules about pets in the pond. You're breaking them, and now the cops are on their way." Michael's heart sank. He had no idea that letting Buddy swim could cause such trouble. What shocked him even more, though he hadn't told anyone, was that he had actually been part of the team that helped draft those pet ordinances for the county months ago. Rules he thought were clear and fair. Now they were being used against him. As Linda turned her back, confident the situation was under control, Michael stood there, bewildered and suddenly caught in a conflict he never expected. After that day by the pond, things started to change for Michael Thompson in ways he never imagined. At first, it was just whispers and curious glances when he walked down the neighborhood streets. But soon, those whispers grew louder, turning into cold stares and whispered accusations behind his back. Then came the social media storm. Michael found himself at the center of an unexpected controversy. Posts appeared on the local neighborhood pages, some angry, some judgmental, all accusing him of blatantly ignoring community rules. "How could he be so careless?" one comment read. "He thinks he's above the law," wrote another. Every notification on Michael's phone felt like a punch to the gut. The man who had always respected his neighbors and tried to do the right thing was suddenly being treated like a troublemaker. It wasn't just the words. It was the growing sense that people he'd smiled at in passing now saw him as an outsider, a rule breaker. Inside, Michael's feelings twisted into something harder to bear. He hated how unfairly he was judged, how quickly people had turned against him without hearing his side. The frustration built quietly at first, but with every post, every whisper, it grew louder, fueling a deep anger at the injustice of it all. All he wanted was to share a simple moment with his dog, but instead he found himself caught in a web of suspicion and resentment. And worst of all, he still hadn't told anyone the truth, that he had helped write the very rules they said he was breaking. Michael couldn't shake the growing fire inside him. The unfairness, the false accusations, it all hit harder the longer he sat with the silence from his neighbors. So one evening, Determined to clear his name, he pulled out the files he'd almost forgotten about, documents from the county meetings where he had helped draft the very pet ordinance everyone was now accusing him of breaking. Page after page, he read through the rules, and then it hit him. Not only was his dog swim allowed, but the ordinance explicitly permitted dogs to swim in that pond as long as they were supervised. The same rules the HOA chair and the police were using against him were exactly the ones he had helped write. It was a cruel irony he couldn't ignore. Fueled by a mix of frustration and righteous anger, Michael decided it was time to fight back. He scheduled a meeting with the HOA board and made sure the local police officers were present too. When the day came, he walked in with those same documents in hand, proof that the accusations against him were baseless. As he laid out the facts calmly but firmly, faces in the room shifted from smug confidence to surprise, then to reluctant respect. Michael's clear evidence left no room for doubt. The rules were on his side. That moment was a turning point. The anger that had been simmering now transformed into strength. Michael wasn't just fighting for his dog. He was standing up for fairness, truth, and respect. After proving his case, Michael knew it was time to bring the community together and set things right once and for all. He organized a neighborhood meeting at the local community center, inviting HOA members, neighbors, and even a few police officers who had been involved. The room was filled with curious eyes and hesitant voices, but Michael stayed calm, ready to share the full truth. Standing in front of the crowd, he explained how the pet ordinance had come to be and how he himself had helped draft it. He showed the documents that cleared up the confusion, proving that Buddy's swims in the pond were not only allowed but officially approved under the county's rules. A hush fell over the room as people absorbed what they'd just heard. Then, slowly, the HOA chair, Linda Price, stepped forward with a genuine apology. She admitted that the accusations had been unfair and that she hadn't fully understood the ordinance herself. The neighbors who had turned against Michael nodded in agreement, their earlier suspicion giving way to respect. From that day on, Buddy swam freely in the pond without any issues. Michael's name was cleared, his reputation restored, and the neighborhood learned a valuable lesson about fairness and understanding. Justice was served, not with anger or division, but through persistence, truth, and a willingness to listen. Michael's calm determination had turned a painful conflict into a moment of unity, proving that standing up for what's right always pays off in the end.